One Punch Man 127 Monster Play. I'm calling it Monster Play for now because I can't find an official name for this chapter, and if you guys see it then obviously point it out. I'm more than happy to change the name, but I feel like Monster Play is a very appropriate name for this chapter just because of all like they talk about like playing a monster a lot at this point. No reaction for this one because maybe I assume that. I think maybe because I'm always late with reactions, and no excuse really. I just wanted to read it. It's been a while since I got to read a chapter when it came out straight away. So, this chapter is woke. Am I using that right? I don't know. I'm using it right for me because I read this at like 6 in the morning when I was really tired and kept falling asleep, so I had to get up for work, and this actually really woke me up. So, good chapter, am I right? Yes you are this time, Matt. It is a good chapter. Well, it's One Punch Man, they're all good chapters. The art in this chapter is incredible. Can we talk about the art? Let's talk about the art, because the art is insane. I don't know, it's Murata, and he's always really good. I don't know, like, I felt like I got that, obviously, you know, these guys were looking super serious, but I also felt like it was taking place in a dark location at the same time. I felt like the shading was really good. Like, Darkshine looked phenomenal throughout, Garo looked phenomenal throughout. Like I said, like, it's their different kind of styles. I was like, you know, the rougher style of Garo compared to the smoothness of Darkshine looks super good. The fight itself, maybe I should start talking about the chapter. Oh boy. Because the chapter starts off where we continued last time, except it doesn't, because it doesn't at all. Because it ended last time with Psychos, and I was like, okay, I'm interested to see what happens next. Could have predicted Garo and Darkshine happening next. I thought that would be like a way in the future kind of moment. Really, I did. But it just goes straight at it from the beginning. Like, that shot, like that double spread of Darkshine and Garo and all the hits into him, and Darkshine flexes it off like nothing. And this is one of my favourite things about like this whole beginning of the fight more than anything is, of course, like, you know, Darkshine just being like, your monster play ends here, looking very serious, very scary, and Garo's still going at him. And I love like all these attacks are doing nothing to him in this first bit of the fight, right, where he's still asleep. And as it goes on, obviously, like, you know, that bit where he zooms around and like all the kicks go for us. Oh, here we go. Once again, Darkshine's like, bam, get out of here. It's so good because eventually that wakes Garo up. Like you said, your monster play ends here. Get out. Like, and then Garo's like, huh? And then that's when he learned that he's actually regained consciousness, because he has apparently been asleep the whole time. Don't believe that for a second. I don't think he's been, like, aware of what he's done, of course. I fully believe he's not that, but the thing is with Garo at this point, he's really wrestling with, like, the monster side and the humanity of him, you know? So, it's the case of, like, I think that's his monster side taking more over. Obviously, like, as we saw when Puri found him, he woke up and he started, like, screaming and just started fighting. But at the same time, we've got also Garo, like, the moment he gets back up, and it's literally in his face, by the way. Of course, you've got like half his eyes, like one eye's black, one eye's white. It's literally him wrestling with his humanity, and while he's like, oh, I must have been asleep, he doesn't fully realise that he's monsterizing because he's been put through such extreme measures. And of course, we've also got something else to talk about at the end, which is surprising. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel like it's more that, but if it did turn out that that was him sleeping and he's fighting against Darkshine like that in that state, gonna be honest, that's pretty fucking cool. Oh, naughty words, that's how excited I am. Also, love one of Garo's first thoughts is like, oh, Dotario, get out of here. You know, for someone who's trying to be like, who just let such a savage beat down, we still, once again, like, the moment his humanity's returned, he's thinking about Taro. He's like, man, I hope he gets out, okay? And like, Garo, who looks pretty scared about the whole chapter, it's just, it's like, you see, like, you know, you see the light in their eyes, like, what is it called? Like, the reflection, I guess, and then it's just, it just looks good. It's always a good way to bring like a more human side to a character as well, so it's very good. So then of course Garo says of how he was sleeping, Darkshine's like, please don't make excuses in this fight, you can't beat me, and then Garo does something incredible. I think it's incredible because, I mean, like, people know what the comparison is. I was looking at the panel the day before, so obviously Garo takes his water-flowing, rock-crushing fist stance, right? And it looks very good. It is just exactly like Bang did to him in chapter 83. At the very end, before Garo and Bang fought against each other, and obviously it's almost like Murata's just traced it over, but it works so well, of course, to show how much Garo has grown in such a small amount of time. I loved that comparison when it happened originally, just like, obviously, the roughness of Garo's form compared to like the smoothness of Bang's form originally. I was like, man, that's a great way to show the difference between them, difference in skill. The fact that obviously Bang and Garo was taking like the same form, like the exact same stance with the same movements as Bang did, Great way to show character, like, growth, and it's easy to see. And then out of everything he could have done as well, just like to put his little Garo flower on it when they're having the stare down, Garo just goes like, Garo, I miss, like, what a, like, I've missed Garo, I think we've all missed Garo, but Garo. And it's just the fact that when it's just Tank Top goes, Tank Top, no, not Tank Top, I wish it was Tank Top, Darkshine just goes to the punch, Garo sweeps him off his feet, okay? Like, just to point out something, Darkshine had a building fall on his head and was like, what was that? Oh, I don't know what that is. He's literally ran through monsters, no problem. Garo kicks him in the side of his head and sends him flying onto the floor. Darkshine's in shock over this. Now that's like a hell of a feat for Garo. Like, that's like, that on its own is to show, like, the difference between them. And the reason I probably said Tank Top before is because it's exactly what Tank Top said about Garo. What makes him dangerous, what makes him, like, such a powerful monster, like, a powerful opponent for the Hero Association, is the fact he knows how to fight people. Like, as we saw, you know, when he thrashes about as a monster, he's not doing anything to Darkshine. Darkshine's countering no problem. Like, nothing is affecting him. Obviously because it's Darkshine, but also just because of, that's how it is. However, the moment he gets his humanity back, the moment he turns more into his human side, he then becomes a problem for Darkshine. Like, more of a problem. He's like, well, his movements are sharpened, I need to be on the lookout for him. And obviously, Garo's like, well, you are Darkshine, you are the pinnacle of physical strength amongst the Hero Association, so if I can beat you, like, if I can, then my attack's gonna work on anyone. And we learn about, I guess we learn about Darkshine too, in a great way. Like, we see, like, I feel like I've said this quite a bit about the heroes, but I think it really rings true for Darkshine in terms of, the S-Class heroes are quite arrogant, but I feel like there's more to Darkshine than others. Because obviously, like, I feel like Child Emperor is one who has, like, had to give up a lot of his, like, he's given up his childhood to protect people when the adults should be kind of stepping up more, you know? But in return, Darkshine, he's quite humble and he's quite real, like, he's got respect for Garo at the same time, like, in terms of he's like, he says in his way, basically, like, listen, you're strong, you know, if you, like, turn yourself in, rehome your, like, change your mindset, really atone for your sins, you could become a great hero one day, please consider it. And he even does this later on after he launches the tackle against him, where he's like, listen, I'll talk about this bit now, where he's like, listen, you underestimate people, like I feel like a lot of the S-Class heroes are very much like, oh, I'm the greatest and I can do this, but I feel like the best way to describe Darkshine is he's happy with who he is. So I feel like maybe, like, where other people have, like, character flaws in sense of, like, you know, maybe Tatsumaki's got some insecurities, which is why she's constantly like, I'm the best, I can do this all, and, like, maybe, like, a lot of them have too much pride, like Atomic Samurai, of course, when, like, he met Saitama, he was like, only talk to S-Class or above, come greet me then. Darkshine, in comparison, was like, listen, you don't understand how powerful some of our guys are. Like, if you fought, he literally says, if you fought against Atomic, you fought against Flashy, you fought against King, you fought against Tatsumaki, you'd be gone. And one of my favourite things about it is he actually addresses him with some respect. He calls him, like, Tatsumaki-kun, or, like, calls him kun or san, or, like, you know, just that's like saying, hey, if you fought Mr. Atomic Samurai, Mr. Flashy Flash, Miss, you know, like, Miss Tatsumaki, Mr. King, you would be in trouble. Like, he's respectful, genuinely respectful to the other members. He didn't have to say that about them, but he's generally like, listen, Garo, you're too green. And I'll get onto that, that's good. That's a good way to compare Bang as well. But, obviously, Garo snaps at this idea of being asked to join the Hero Association, where he wants to join because of the Monster Association, and he tells him to basically go eat shit, you know, because he is doing his own thing. We get an amazing moment with our boy, where I saw this for the first time, and obviously he like, he bulks up, right? And he goes charging, and Garo's was like, fuck, I can't deflect that, I should move. And then he doesn't move. Maybe it's out of fear of the attack, and obviously that is gorgeous, where, like, Darkshine's just raining down, like, the train is coming, and Garo can't get off the tracks. And then he's like, oh man, this is bad, not even Silver Fang could stop this. And his ribs shatter, and we meet the attack, which I have called, because when I read it originally, I was like, I can't believe, look at that tank top tackle! So this, to me, is the tank top tackle EX. So, yes, so Darkshine uses Tank Top Tackle EX, and just, oh, he smashes everything! So Darkshine then gives his speech about how, like, if you fought the S-Class heroes, then, you know, there'd be a problem, but he also goes on to talk about Bang, and I love this bit as well, because, once again, shows how humble Darkshine is. He's like, you know, I wanted to experience what it was like to fight him, so I offered to fight against Bang in the past, and, you know, like, and I was the aggressor. And he was like, he basically said he lost. He's like, I didn't take any damage, but, you know, I went on the offense and I couldn't touch him. You know, I couldn't handle him, like, and he was giving me a beat down. Didn't hurt me, but it was clear I couldn't hurt him, you know, like, I wasn't on his level. And that's when he says, of course, like, Goro, you're still too green. It's almost like implying that Bang could have stopped that Tank Top Tackle EX, which is a crazy thing to say, but obviously he's had the experience fighting it, and obviously that really built up, like, the strength of Bang, which we should do, because personally I feel like when I first met him I kind of underestimated Bang as well, but at the end of the day, he is a legend of the martial arts world, and as they say, he's still too green, and whilst we know Goro, who's been through some amazing stuff, genuinely, like, we've seen his growth, you know, we've seen how crazy the opponents have been up against, the situations he's been backed into a corner from, and how he's got out of them, and how he's survived, and so, not always won, he's lost fights too, but of course it always comes down to the fact that Goro has been through a lot, and that's why his crazy growth has. However, in comparison, as far as we know, Bang has had decades and decades more experience than him, you know, Bang's like 70 or 80, I think, at this point, and he is obviously, he's a martial arts master, he's the pride of the martial arts world, you know, that's why the martial arts, like, the martial arts society are okay with Bang being a hero, because he's so phenomenal that he actually brings, like, more interest to the martial arts world, and at least, if you want to look at it like this, we don't really know much about Bang's past, but he has a brother like Bomb, who you can imagine he probably had regular sparring matches against. I don't think that's a stretch to say that kind of thing, so you know, just that kind, if you were constantly fighting someone like Bomb for, like, your whole life, as, like, and you go toe to toe, then you're pretty damn strong. And obviously, you know, Goro snaps at this, because he's like, well, why don't you stop playing, and, you know, I don't know what, you know, what heroes have done to piss you off so much, but get over it. And Goro snaps. He's like, no, that's what he says. He says, know your place, and that's so much more important, because obviously Goro's backstory, where he's like, you know, where he's been told to know his place, and he's not happy with his place, which is what was to change. And of course, everything that happened with his teacher, and Arkun, or I can't remember his name, the kid, like the dickhead kid. Which one? There's so many. We don't really dickhead kids there are on One Punch Man, actually. Any case, we then get to see Goro get up from broken ribs and attack you as like, I can't take this. I'm gonna die. To I'm back. Let's fucking go. And he goes. And he goes. And he goes. And he goes because it's Goro and we all love him. And he has this speech. Of course they're strong, you know. Who are people like that who attack people with violence without, like, you know, without any remorse of what they've done. It means they've lost their kindness, and a great callback, of course, to Goro protecting Tario from the A-class and B-class heroes. However, Goro, like, I get what you're saying about this, but at the same time, it's kind of like, personally, I was like, this is a good, I get what you're saying, Goro. But at the same time, that's the example you use where you would, like, mercilessly kick the shit out of so many heroes before, and on top of this, you won. Like, if you start this fight by saying, hey, there's a kid in here, let's not do this. But at the very end, after he beat up everyone, Def Gatlin was on his own. It's like, listen, there's a kid in here, let's not fight. And it's like, Goro, not the time. You're not exactly one to talk, and I get he's grown as a character from this, because, you know, he isn't the kind of person who, like, mercilessly beats down anymore, but, like, he still fights, right? And obviously, like, you know, he's still doing this, but looking from pretty much, I'm thinking, is it from that fight, pretty much, where, like, he's acting either in self-defense or protecting Tario, I think. I feel like that's right, because I think after, like, that interaction with Tario, now I think about it, that's kind of when his fights change, and he only really gets into fights because he's forced into fights. Apart from, when Saitama, apart from that interaction he had with Saitama, I think, like, you know, that was like Bug God and Raw Ripper attacking him, and then, like, he went to go rescue Tario, so that led to his fight against, like, the three demons, and then Rover, Orochi, and Gyoro, and Puri, because, well, Puri was like his monster side coming out and just naturally attacking humanity, but still, like, it's nighttime, like, that's actually pointing to say, like, he hasn't really gone out and sought a fight since his interactions with Tario, which is character growth I didn't really realise. I think that's right, at least. Point it out if I'm wrong, of course, please do. I'd like to be right about this kind of stuff, but if I'm not, it's not a problem. I'd rather, like, get the knowledge right, you know? And that's when he goes on to say, of course, about, like, the morality of what it is to be a hero, and, like, you think you're heroes, but you're just playing heroes, you're not real, you know, like, the shittier you are, the more the public loves you, and then, obviously, like, he goes on to say, like, I will crush justice, it grinds my gears when this does, my monster play will never end, and another brilliant bit of art by Murata of Goro charging at Darkshine. Ooh. And then we get Flashy and Saitama, and I quite like these two. I know people haven't necessarily been too, well, I say people haven't been too happy about it, but like, I think just because obviously, you know, it keeps going, meanwhile, Flashy and Saitama, but I'm always happy to see more of them, and their interaction was very funny too, because it was just like the talk, like Saitama's like, my cake man, and then it's like, you care too much about appearances, and then Flashy goes like, a true hero must strive to become one that no one notices, finishes their opponent with one strike and becomes so, and blends in so well, no one knows the job is done. And Saitama's like, that'd be pretty depressing, right? And then he's like, just watch as I take down a roach, and it's like, I get what you're saying. So obviously, because Flashy's ideal is basically to be Saitama, to be a hero who's so powerful that he takes down any opponent with one swift strike, but at the same time doesn't get noticed by anyone. Which makes sense as a ninja. That's his job, like to do the job as swiftly as possible without many people being seen. But in any case, it's that. And of course, Mike Wazowski, Orochi, blah blah blah. Genos is there, and we'll get back to Darkshine and Garo. But one thing I will say is that that made me think this chapter was, Darkshine and Saitama have never had an interaction, which actually surprises me a bit because of Saitama's introduction into the Hero Association was obviously the physical tests, which we can imagine was probably, like, the bars were probably set high by Darkshine unless there's different criteria for the S-class heroes. At the very least, though, you compared, like, as they said, like, Saitama smashed all the records. Like, he beat them, and those records probably set by characters like Darkshine and Flashy. So, do you think Darkshine's got so much pride in his muscles and his strength? Like, you know, he loves, like, he loves himself in the best way. You'd be surprised he isn't like, well, who's this guy who beat all my records? Like, by a lot. Maybe that's what will come, then that's maybe one day what will make them come to talk to each other, but at the very least that's just something that popped into my head. And they go back to the fight, and Darkshine's taking all the hits, no problem, and then it's at some point he's like, man, nothing could beat through these muscles, he made, well, what am I going to do for tea later? And then he's like, wait a minute, is Garo getting faster? And then, of course, because it's Garo, he's growing and he's getting faster and faster, and then that's when the narration kicks in to reveal that because he's such a genius that he is unknowingly using Cross Dragon Slayer Fist, the same attack that you know, beat Rover, is something he is just like subconsciously using because he's using, you know, Waterflow and Rock Crushing Fist in one hand and Whirlwind Cutting Iron Fist in the other hand, and then it's just naturally combining, and he's worked this way to the point of, you know, this is his natural fighting style is Dragon Slaying Fist, okay? That's Garo. That's Garo. And obviously, as the fight goes on, just before then, Darkshine has his moment, like this brilliant moment, like where obviously, like the whole chapter's quite dark, not just because it's not because Darkshine, but like it's supposed to be like this dimly lit area, and like there's a lot of shadows and shading and all that. But like this moment, like, and it stands out. It just stands out as a panel because all of a sudden the detail, no detail, just an outline of Darkshine, where he's like, wait a minute, for a second the word defeat came into my mind, and then that's like now. I don't want to say that's the end of Darkshine, because originally I was like, this is it, Darkshine, he's going to lose this fight, not just because it's Garo, but the fact is he thought, like, I'm going to lose, and the moment you lose your will to win, like, the moment you're like, I'm going to win, the moment you say, I'm not going to win this, it kind of goes downhill from there, and it probably will for Darkshine, of course, because it's Garo and he's crazy, but at the same time, like, maybe, but Garo has been in those kind of situations before where he's like, I can't win, but then he's turned it round, and maybe Darkshine will go for something similar, perhaps, where, obviously, if Garo backs him more and more into a corner, Darkshine would get some form of, like, growth, or, it sounds crazy to say, but the fact is we've seen Garo do this time and time again, but it has already been said that he has, like, a crazy growth rate, and he's a genius fighter, and like Darkshine in comparison spent a long time honing his muscles, so I feel like that's like unlikely to happen, but I think there could be a chance, just because I don't necessarily think Darkshine should go down like this. Like, we'll see what goes on. Like, I think their fight will probably come to like inconclusive, something will interrupt their fight overall, because the fight isn't over yet in any case, but I can't imagine, like, personally, I can't imagine Garo beating Darkshine, but I also can't imagine Darkshine beating Garo, so yeah. Something I actually didn't mention, which is actually very important about this chapter as well, is throughout all the beatdown Garo gives, like, and he's using, you know, like that kick that launched him into the ground, the Cross Dragon Slayer Fist. Darkshine has not taken a single bit of damage from this as well. No matter how hard Garo hits, Darkshine is still taking it all. He's not like bruised or scratched up or anything. That is going to, obviously, that'll be the moment, like, I think maybe the fight will become inconclusive, is the moment, like, Darkshine starts taking damage, but he hasn't taken damage in a long time, and I don't think, unless like Goro, but the thing is, unfortunately, this makes Darkshine like the ultimate punching bag, because Goro is the kind of person who revels in a situation where he'll keep growing and growing and growing until he gets to the point where he can injure Darkshine, you know? And of course, like, as the narrator's going on, like, you know, this is Goro's potential, you know, this is the growth of Goro, this is what he does. Boom goes the Super Alloy Bazooka. Brilliant art, of course. And Goro with shattered ribs counters it. Boom! What brilliant art. I always love that effect they do as well with the circle, where like after the impact has been made of something, and then like, you know, they've got like they have a circle around it to show like, look at the shockwaves of this punch. And obviously, you know, you got it exploding everywhere. Goro's limiter has been, well, it's starting to break. That is a lot worse. Not bad in terms of like bad story, I mean like bad as in Goro's limiter's getting broken, which has only been described before by Saitama, like as in only Saitama has broken a limit before. And it makes sense that Goro's limit's going to get broken because of the constant like crisis he's put in, like time and time again. He makes it out of dangerous situations. It's different to monsterization, but at the same time he's monsterizing. It's clear from what we can see, like his eyes are turning black. And maybe like that's the form of, maybe it is his limiter being broken for all we know. And obviously like we've got that, like, first of all that design looks cool, like the spiral paddle, I don't know what I was saying, the spiral pattern that forms on him, and I didn't notice until like the translator. If you haven't, one of the crew of the translators and the people who get the shouts out, Vibhavam, who's fairly common in the community. So, well, hey, anyone who translated this, thank you. You're awesome. I get to read it because of you. And you know, it forms around there. I didn't notice that until like I looked at the translator notes at the very end, because I picked up on like the Bangaro comparison before. I was like, oh, that's cool. But then it was like, oh, whoa, that's super cool. What was I going to say? Yes, about the limiter. Because obviously Saitama's appearance did change after he broke his limiter, in the sense of he got bald, but he got strong. So maybe like as a side effect of a limiter being broken, your appearance does change, and maybe it's to do with how you do it, because Goro is like, Saitama went through his fair share of fights, and we don't obviously know like all the details of his 3-year training, but we know he pushed himself over and over again to his limit. But because he remained true to his goal of being a hero, maybe obviously his transformation, his limit being broken, was a lot more humane, where in comparison to Goro, who's like very much on either side, who's clashing with his own ideals, where like, you know, he's like, I want to become the greatest monster that all humans fear, yet he still hasn't killed a human. So it's like this idea of his, like, similar to monsterization, where like he is starting to like, where his form is changing, but it is still like a monster. So it's like half human, half monster, because that second eye turns black. And that is the end of the chapter. What a really good chapter. The fight was super cool. Darkshine's very cool. I like it, like learning about him and probably overanalyzing what his character's like. I like Goro, of course. Like, man, anytime Goro shows up, the story just goes, "Wah!" And like, it's not that it's been bad recently. It's just obviously there's been a lack of fights. And what a way to welcome back to the fights with Goro and Darkshine. Phenomenal stuff. In any case, I really like this chapter, but what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more like this, because I actually got a review out at a decent time, only like a couple days after the chapter came out. Was it a day? It might have been a day. It might be a day! No, it's 2. It's, I lied. I got you, not me, huh? Thank you for watching though, goodbye.